My twin sister caused a fatal accident while driving drunk. Without hesitation, my mother pushed me forward to take the blame. The entire family insisted that I was the one driving that day, unable to prove my innocence. I ultimately died to clear my name. Reborn. I opened my eyes and found myself back to the day before the accident, 10 years ago. After my parents divorced, I was placed in the custody of my father. My twin sister Shuang went with our mother, soon after. My mother remarried and took my sister to the United States. I stayed in China, living a tough life with my alcoholic father. It wasn't until I turned 18 that my mother and Shuang returned to China. They offered to sponsor my university education, after 10 years. Our family was sitting together at dinner again. At the dinner table, my father was heavily drunk. My mother glanced at me with disdain as I wore a coat stuffed with cotton padding. "Zhao, do you always live so sloppily?" she asked. I lowered my head, only to see my sister's stylish leather shoes, with her legs crossed. She sarcastically remarked, "Mom, do you even need to ask? It's likely that these ragged clothes are the best she can offer, too." My mother feigned annoyance. "How can you speak to your sister like that?" Shuang scoffed and took a swig of red wine. My mother gently said, "We came back primarily for your university matters." I timidly responded, "I have a scholarship at my current university. And I also work part-time, so there's no need." Before I could finish, my father suddenly slapped the back of my head. "Part-time work is useless. Your mother is willing to support you financially, and here you are babbling nonsense. So ungrateful." I lowered my head again. My mother then said gently, "Zhao, I know you've had a tough time in China these past years. Don't worry, now that I'm back, I won't let you worry about money anymore." It was hard not to be moved. The motherly love I had missed for years seemed to fill the void in an instant. My heart's ice seemed to be melting. "Thank you, Mom." She tenderly took out a tube of hand cream from her pocket and gently applied it to my cracked hands. It smelled of gardenias. "Look at you. A girl's hands are her second face. And you don't take care of yourself?" 3. In my previous life, I drowned in such tenderness. How could a child starved of love resist such overwhelming yet insincere maternal affection? After dinner, Shuang insisted on driving. I softly reminded her, "You've been drinking." She rolled her eyes at me. "I have a foreign ID card. Even if I get caught, they can't do much to me." My father, drunk and loud, bragged, "That's my daughter Lin Jinbiao's spirit, as courageous as your father." Shuang despised me, and even more so him. She coldly said, "Who wants to be the daughter of a drunkard like you? Just drop dead." Insulted, my father just grinned foolishly. Our Shuang is straightforward, not like your sister, always looking gloomy as if under a curse. After that, he kicked me. "Get in the car." In the car, my mom took out some documents from her bag. Shuang is planning to return to study in China next year, but she's not familiar with many of the local exams after spending so long abroad. "Zhao, since you and your sister look exactly alike, I was thinking you could take the exams for her. I've already taken care of things with the examiners, you just need to show up." I knew this was illegal, and getting caught would also mean my expulsion from school. "Mom, this isn't right," I said. My father shouted, "What's not right about it? Is it just an exam? You're not great at anything else. But at least your studies are passable. Just this little favor, can't you help your sister?" Mother also gently persuaded, "Yes, think of it as helping your sister." Just as I was about to take the documents, Lin Shuang slammed on the brakes. A man was struck and thrown a dozen meters away in the dark stretch of road ahead. In the cold night, only the headlights shone brightly. A woman's scream could be heard not far away. "He's been hit, he's been killed." Lin Shuang looked helplessly towards our mother. "Mom, what should I do now?" The next second, someone gently took my hand. The familiar scent of hand cream wafted through. "Zhao. Can you help your sister? Help your sister? Whether it's taking an exam or taking the blame, I am just an expendable pawn." My thoughts were abruptly pulled back. I opened my eyes and found myself back at the dinner before the car accident. Mother was gently applying hand cream for me, her tone filled with sympathy. "These years have been hard on our Zhao." I felt a chill and instinctively withdrew my hand. She noticed my reaction and asked, "What's wrong?" I smelled the cloying scent of gardenias and suddenly felt nauseous. In my previous life, I was deceived time and again into taking the blame for Lin Shuang. Before the trial, she told me that she had reached an out-of-court settlement with the victim's family, and I would be out of jail in 3 to 5 years at most. But what awaited me was a life sentence. I repeatedly filed appeals in prison, seeking to defend myself, but it was all in vain. In the end, I had to prove my innocence with my death, ending my 18 years in such an absurd way. I looked up to see Lin Shuang downing a large glass of red wine. I calmly stood up. "Excuse me, I need to use the restroom." After washing my face in the restroom, I quickly calmed down and called my mother. "Mom, I'm feeling a bit unwell. I'm going to head back now." "Why leave now? You could just ride back with us later," I hurriedly said. "It's okay, I've already called a cab." After hanging up, I went to a nearby police station. "Hello, I need to reissue my ID card, just in case. Like in my previous life, Lin Shuang hit someone and I take the blame again. I needed to use the identity system to confirm my alibi." The officer looked up at me. "We're closed. Come back tomorrow." I pleaded anxiously. "A temporary ID will do. I really need it. Please help me." He reluctantly turned on his computer. "I'll record your information first, but you can only get it by tomorrow at the latest." I thanked him profusely, finally leaving a trace in the police system. After registering, I sat under the surveillance cameras in the lobby without leaving. Half an hour later, my mother called me in a panic. Xiao Xiao, what should we do? Shuang Shuang has had an accident. She hit someone. I looked at the caller ID and pressed the record button. What happened? Which intersection are you at? Who did she hit? Tell me everything. Clearly panicked. She told me everything. Xiao Xiao. Can you help your sister? Just say you were the one who hit him. She's too timid to handle being scared like this. I reassured her. Don't worry. I'm on my way now. I'll make sure everything will be okay. With Shuang Shuang. After hanging up the phone, I turned to the police officer handling the case. Hello, I'm here to report an accident. The officer looked surprised but accepted my report. When the police car arrived at the scene, Lin Shuang was hiding in her mother's arms, crying. She sobbed that it was because it was too dark and she couldn't see clearly, and accidentally hit someone. It's all that person's fault for startling me in the middle of the night. Lin Shuang always had a way of blaming others, using it as a means to escape her own culpability. A short distance away, a man lay motionless in the street. Bright red blood flowed from beneath him, spreading to my feet. The officer walked over to check, only to find that the man had stopped breathing. Has anyone called for an ambulance? The ambulance is already on its way. Upon seeing the police, the mother and daughter glared at me fiercely. Didn't we tell you not to make a big deal out of this? Why did you call the police? I feigned innocence. I don't know why the police came. It must be a coincidence. Lin Shuang pulled at my clothes. Quick, swap clothes with me, just in case they take our statements later. You say you were driving, that you hit the person. Her tone was so entitled it made me instinctively step back. Her mother gently held my shoulders, softly saying, Xiao Xiao, mom knows you're a good girl. You'll help your sister, right? That's when I noticed that the police had been momentarily distracted. In my past life, I was the scapegoat. This time, I refused to be the fool again. Firmly, I said, no, it was you who hit him. How can I take the blame for you? They didn't expect me to refuse. My father came up and kicked me hard. You ungrateful girl. Can't even help with such a small thing. I wasted my effort raising you. The kick was hard, but I was used to it. I got up from the ground, dusting myself off. Again, I repeated, I will not take the blame. I don't understand why. Born to the same parents, they treat me and Lin Shuang so differently. My mother paused briefly, then she said, I should have considered Zhao Zhao's feelings. I shouldn't have made it difficult for her. After calming down, she made a call to a lawyer friend, likely to prepare to negotiate a settlement with the victim's family. Lin Shuang was temporarily detained at the police station. The police found her blood alcohol level to be over the legal limit. The man she hit died, and a death notice was issued. Death by drunk driving is a serious offense. It could lead to financial ruin. In the police station, Lin Shuang finally realized the severity of the situation. Tears streamed down her face. Mom, you have to help me. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. The man who was hit was a migrant worker. His wife appeared simply dressed. With the loss of the family's breadwinner, she cried throughout her statement, perhaps because of their modest appearance. Everyone assumed that accepting compensation and settling was the natural course of action. The lawyer tentatively asked, how much compensation are you considering? The woman looked at us numbly. My husband is dead. How much compensation do you think I should get? It was clear that she wasn't a woman solely driven by money. My mother began to grow anxious. I'm truly sorry for the accident, and I'm willing to pay whatever amount as long as you agree to a settlement. You know my daughter is only 18, she's still young and naive. Please, let her off. Suddenly, the woman's demeanor hardened. You ask me to let her off, but who will let my husband off? A living person is gone. What do you expect me to do? The negotiation reached a deadlock. The lawyer was out of ideas and gestured us to step outside to talk. Once outside, my mother suddenly grabbed my hand. Her hand trembled slightly in the chilly night air. Zhao Zhao. I looked up and saw the earnestness in her eyes, which frightened me. What is it, Mom? She reached out and touched my hair. Your hair has gotten long, let's go get a haircut. I shivered. Lin Shuang had short hair. She still couldn't let go of the thought of having me take the blame for her. My father chimed in. Yes. Go with your mom for a haircut? Look, your bangs are covering your eyes, he said as he forcibly dragged me to a nearby barbershop. They pushed me to get my hair cut, giving me no chance to resist. Watching in the mirror as my long hair, grown over 3 years, was being cut short, I suddenly realized that this nightmare was far from over. Even if I wasn't as foolish as in my past life to take the blame, I still couldn't escape being forced onto this path. This outcome, sure enough. The next day my mother came to take me shopping for clothes. She bought me many things I normally wouldn't come into contact with, though they were typical for Lin Shuang. After shopping, she naturally steered the conversation towards Shuang. Mom has put a lot of effort into raising Shuang over the years, so it's inevitable that I might be a bit biased. Zhao Zhao, can you understand? I pretended to be obedient and nodded. She sighed in relief. I've always known you're a sensible child. It's ridiculous. A sensible child is doomed to be at a disadvantage forever. That year when my parents divorced, she said the same thing to me, 10 years ago. I was more sensible than Lin Shuangshuang, so I gave up the chance to study abroad to her. 10 years later, the word sensible is driving me to a dead end. The victim's family is still unwilling to settle. You and Shuangshuang are twins. Could you take the blame for your sister? Mom promises to negotiate a settlement with the victim's family. If they agree, you might only serve a year or two, and you'll be out soon. I don't know what kind of mindset she had when she said that. Lin Shuangshuang is her daughter, am I not? My father added, what's wrong with helping your sister? It's not like it's costing you your life. He could never know that in my past life, I paid a price as costly as my life. My mother gently said, Zhao Zhao, it's different for your sister. Having a criminal record would ruin her life. You're so capable. A year or two in prison won't affect you much. The two of them, in tandem, began to brainwash me frantically. My father had even begun to pull strings with his limited connections. I knew that in this situation, resistance was futile. Even with an alibi, I would still be sent to take her place. Eventually, unable to prove my innocence, my fate would be just as tragic. After a moment of contemplation, I managed to stabilize my emotions. Mom, give me some time to think, I said. A hint of disappointment flickered across my mother's eyes, but she soon regained her gentle tone. I know this is hard for you. But we are family after all. If you help your sister today, she will remember your kindness. You two can support each other through any difficulties in the future. After all, you are twins. There's a special bond, she reassured me, mimicking her. I forced a gentle smile. Okay, Mom. When I got home, my dad was still ranting, you spineless loser, can't even help your sister with such a small favor. What's the point of raising you? Shuangshuang is decisive like me, not indecisive like you. It's like pulling teeth to get a word out of you. I should have kept Shuangshuang by my side from the start. He grabbed a bottle of liquor from the cupboard and took a big swig straight from the bottle, then collapsed into a deep sleep on the sofa. I went back to my room, pulled out all the savings I had accumulated, and counted them, exactly 1,000 yuan. I packed my sparse belongings into my backpack, put on a hat, and slipped out under the cover of night. Just as I was about to leave, I spotted a figure by the door that startled me. Upon closer inspection, I realized it was my grandmother. She didn't live with us. She stayed with my uncle instead. Unable to handle her alcoholic son, she often helped me in secret. Gr grandma. I stammered as I approached her. I noticed she was holding a bowl of dumplings. Zhao Zhao, it's the winter solstice today. At least have some dumplings before you go, she said. I wasn't sure if she had guessed something was amiss, looking down at the dumplings, which had lost their steam. I wondered how long she had been waiting. Have you been waiting for me? I ventured. She smiled warmly. They're chive and egg. Your favorite? My eyes welled up with tears. Grandma carefully picked a still warm dumpling from under the bowl and brought it to my lips, babbling, I blanched the chives earlier, and the eggs are fresh from this morning. It's delicious, Grandma. I managed to say. She didn't ask why I was carrying a backpack or where I was going. Under the dim streetlight of the narrow alley, I pulled out 200 yuan and handed it to her. Keep this money for some treats. She chided me gently. I don't need money. Keep it for yourself. And pushed it back into my pocket, glancing at my watch. I knew I couldn't stay any longer. With a heavy heart, I turned and walked away. From behind me, Grandma suddenly said, dumplings when you board, noodles when you alight, remember to eat. I plunged into the night, not looking back, and headed for the long-distance bus station. I bought a ticket for the next departing bus, planning to settle down somewhere for a while. Reaching into my pocket, I found a small cloth pouch. Untying the string, I discovered it was 2,000 yuan. Grandma had slipped it in when I wasn't looking. She knew everything and was helping me. After a 5-hour ride, I had left my hometown far behind. Upon arriving, I stopped at a small noodle shop by the roadside for a meal. Then, I snapped my SIM card in half and threw it away. This was a small coastal town, mostly inhabited by fishermen. I found a job at a seafood supermarket, seeing my destitute state. The owner kindly cleared out a storage room for me to use as a dormitory. Thus, I lived in the coastal city for 2 months. With the money I brought from home and some funds from my grandmother, life wasn't too bad. I knew that during those 2 months, my parents must have been frantically searching for me. I also knew that returning home would inevitably lead to a harsh punishment, but I understood that this was the only chance I had to fight for myself. 2 months later, I saw on the news that Lin Shuangshuang's case was finally coming to judgment, due to the negative impact and the fact that she was a foreigner. Both social and mainstream media were extensively covering the story for views. The case quickly became a hot topic, indirectly speeding up the judgment process. 18-year-old foreign girl drives drunk and kills, shows no remorse after confessing. Defense attorney attempts to use foreign laws for her defense. Is this contempt of court? The victim's family refuses to reconcile, vows to fight to the end. Each headline was enough to make a special report. Lin Shuangshuang's mishap became a media frenzy. Exactly what I wanted to see. I watched the online reports indifferently. She deserved her fate. On the day of the verdict, it started drizzling in the seaside city where I was. The owner and a fellow villager were discussing enthusiastically. That young girl got 12 years. She'll be 30 by the time she's out.
Yeah,
Such a waste of her youth, spent in prison. Suddenly, they paused. Xiao Xiao, I saw the news photo. That girl looks a bit like you. The news photo was pixelated, but the lower half of the face shown looked exactly like mine. I just smiled and firmly denied it. You must be mistaken, we look nothing alike. The owner seemed thoughtful and then added, maybe my eyesight is failing me. I also thought I saw a missing person notice with a girl who looks a lot like you. The missing person notice must have been from my parents. These 2 months, they had used countless connections in an attempt to find my whereabouts. Their sole purpose was to have me take the blame. If my whereabouts were discovered, my fate would be the same as in my previous life, but now, I was no longer afraid, because the judgment had been made. Lin Shuangshuang going to prison was a done deal, so, I packed my bags and bought a ticket back home. Upon arriving home and showing my face, my father rushed up and slapped me hard. You really have the nerve, running away from home without a word. You might as well never come back if you're so capable. My grandmother tried to stop him, but was pushed to the ground. You old hag, who are you to interfere with how I discipline my daughter? My father raised his hand to hit me again, but I firmly grabbed his wrist. He had Parkinson's from years of drinking, and I was already stronger than him. That slap just now repays your parental kindness. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. I helped my grandmother up, and she clung tightly to my hand, shielding me behind her. In that moment, I suddenly felt empowered. My father tried to hit me again, but fortunately, my uncle arrived in time and pulled him away. I went inside and packed up the things I hadn't taken before. I had already informed the school in advance and was preparing to move back into the dormitory. Before leaving, I reassured my grandmother repeatedly that I would come back to repay her once I graduated and earned money. She just smiled and told me to be careful. After returning to school, I bought a new SIM card. Since school hadn't started yet, both the academic buildings and dormitory areas were deserted. On the 3rd day after my return, my mother came to see me. The first thing she said was, Lin Zhao Zhao, I didn't expect you to be so heartless. I learned it from you. I replied, in my previous life. She treated me ruthlessly, and because I clung to the warmth of maternal love, I paid with my life. I remember everything vividly. Now are you satisfied? Your sister is in prison. Her life is ruined. She brought it upon herself. Her gaze towards me turned even colder. I would no longer incessantly question her about why she treated my sister and me differently. Nor would I continue to suffer in silence. Human nature is a complex thing. Parents are supposed to be the closest people to you in this world, but you can never truly understand what's going on in their minds. At this moment, however, I knew what my mother needed most. Mom, we can sit down and have a proper talk. There's no need for confrontation. She dropped the pretense. What do you want to talk about? There was a quiet coffee shop next to the school. We sat down and ordered 2 cups of coffee. I took out a document I had printed earlier from my backpack and slid it across the table to her. After my mother took Shuangshuang abroad 10 years ago, she established an educational institution overseas using the Chinese exam-oriented education model and made a fortune. This made their life abroad very comfortable. Unfortunately, there was a flaw. Lin Shuangshuang's academic performance was poor. Despite many years overseas, both her spoken language and grades were a mess. As her daughter reached adulthood and failed to secure admission to a prestigious university, she thought of me. She wanted me to take exams in place of Shuangshuang to secure her a spot at a top university, to promote her educational business. I look just like my sister, and we are both your daughters. You just want a living billboard for your education brand, and I can help you. Over the years, I had studied hard, hoping that one day my mother would come back for me and take me abroad. But that hope was dashed. However, in another place, I found a new beginning. Seeing her expression, I knew she was wavering. Perhaps fundamentally speaking, my sister and I are not as important to her as her career, so by targeting her interests, I had a bargaining chip in the negotiations. Give up on Shuangshuang, take me abroad, and I promise to be your perfect daughter. A look of surprise appeared on her face. This is your sister. How can you say such things? I saw guilt in her eyes. Confidently, I said, people aim for higher grounds, and I believe you will make the right choice. After Lin Shuangshuang was imprisoned, she was still trying to pull strings everywhere, hoping to reduce the sentence through continuous appeals. She invested a lot of time and money. Although the lawyer had gently reminded her, the verdict was final, and appealing it wouldn't make much of a difference. I took a sip of coffee and started speaking leisurely. When you had to choose between me and Shuangshuang, you chose her because she seemed clever and more to your liking. Back when custody was being decided, she chose my seemingly smarter sister, and I, who was only good at hitting the books, appeared dull and was not good at expressing myself. So she concluded that I wouldn't amount to much, but time would prove who was more outstanding. My mother seemed embarrassed, as if I had seen through her. She quickly said, "Let me think about it." After saying that, she left. A week later, she sent me a document containing all the materials needed to go abroad. My purpose was achieved, so I immediately began to prepare. To gather the materials, I returned to my place of household registration. During this trip, I took the opportunity to visit Lin Shuangshuang in prison. She had been serving her sentence for over a month, wearing a blue and white striped shirt, her hair cut short to ear length. When she saw me, she screamed at me frantically. Questioning why I hadn't taken the blame for her, I picked up the receiver and told her, "What goes around comes around." Lin Shuangshuang glared at me with red eyes. My dear sister, she probably forgot that it was the same 10 years ago. We sat facing each other, and she knelt on the ground crying. Begging me, she said, "Sister, I can't stand Dad's temper. I want to go abroad with Mom, please help me." Lin Shuangshuang had always been rebellious, so she was punished more than I was. I, on the other hand, was more tolerant and indeed could endure our father's temper better. Back then, I looked at the scars on her arms with a heartache. It was the most regrettable step back I took in my life. "Sister, I've already helped you once, so you must bear the consequences this time." Lin Shuangshuang howled in despair. She had grown accustomed to a life of freedom. The transition from heaven to hell must have been unbearable for her, but today's outcome was shaped by her own character. I thought she would restrain herself after moving abroad, but 10 years have passed, and she's only become worse. "Sister, I forgot to tell you, Mom has decided to take me abroad. I will enjoy everything abroad for you." From 18 to 30 years old, the prime years of life. I have plenty of time to plan my life, while she can only choose to stay in prison, and even after being released, she'll just be an ex-convict. Life is swapped, just like that. After sorting out all the materials needed to go abroad, I went home to visit Grandma. She seemed to have expected my return, waiting for me at the entrance of the village. I gave her all the money I had saved during this period. "Grandma, I'm about to go abroad. I'll come back as soon as I'm capable of making money." Her eyes were kind, and her aged hands gently stroked the hair by my temples. "Zhao Zhao, Grandma hopes you have a bright future, having been through so much." I thought I had become heartless, but hearing those words, tears still uncontrollably fell. Grandma pushed me gently forward, urging me, "Go ahead, your father will be back soon. Don't worry about Grandma, just go pursue your future." Suddenly, a scene from a past life flashed in my mind. To prove my innocence, I chose suicide. After my death, only Grandma, staggering, came to the prison to claim my body. She knelt beside the white cloth, sobbing softly, muttering repeatedly. My Zhao Zhao had a hard life. I also heard her prayers. If only I could have another life. "Dear God, please have mercy and give my granddaughter a way out." The scene flashed back, and looking at my white-haired grandma in front of me, she seemed to have aged many years. The only thing unchanged was her gaze. Still so tender and soft. In the chilly wind, she stuffed a thermal container into my hands. "Take some food for the road, and don't look back. The road I came by is behind me. All I can do is look forward." I turn away resolutely and leave, yet, even from a distance, when I turn back, I can still see her hesitating in the cold wind. I know what's inside the thermos: dumplings for the ride there, noodles for the ride back, filled with chives and egg. I brought all the ingredients with me when I followed my mother to the United States. Here, I've experienced everything: luxurious, upscale living conditions, excellent education, and endless opportunities. I didn't let her down. Getting accepted into several Ivy League schools, her educational institution gained a great reputation because of this, attracting many parents every day. I was displayed like a zoo monkey, over and over again, but here, they all call me Shuang Shuang. I don't care about the name, I respond with a smile to everyone. My mother now had an excellent daughter, and her attitude towards me changed 180 degrees, gentle and kind, even allowing me to do many things unconditionally. "I should have taken you abroad earlier. You are indeed better than Shuang Shuang, and easier to control." Hearing this, I just smiled. I complimented. "Of course, it's all thanks to Mom's great teaching. My mother will never know that my excellence was earned through countless days and nights in my home country, with an abusive alcoholic father and a filthy living environment. It taught me a lesson. If I didn't excel academically, I'd have no future. So, I forced myself to become better." Seizing the opportunity when it came, to outsiders, we appeared as a model mother-daughter duo. Yet sometimes, my mother would feel nostalgic. "Zhao Zhao, why do I always feel you're not as close to me as Shuang Shuang?" I flashed a sweet smile. "How could that be? The person I love most in this world is Mommy." After saying it, I even found it funny myself. How could someone who has died once love their executioner? Perhaps my mother should understand. We've become the same type of person deep down, so as long as there are no conflicts of interest, I will always be her good daughter. After finishing my master's abroad, I had saved enough to become independent from my mother. When job searching, she insisted I stay in the U.S. I refused. She looked at me incredulously, as this was the first time I had ever defied her. "There are many good job opportunities abroad, and the conditions are much better than at home. Why won't you stay?" I miss my grandmother. Over the years, I could only visit her during holidays. She was getting older and was diagnosed with Alzheimer's last year. My father and uncle were constantly arguing over who should take care of her. Now I have the capability to be with her in her old age, so I must return home. My mother tried to stop me repeatedly. She didn't want to lose a well-groomed daughter. I coldly said, "These years, you've also made a lot of money off me, enough for me to repay you. From now on, we'll go our separate ways and no longer interact." She had the same shocked expression she had years ago in the coffee shop. Shocked by my coldness, shocked by my calculation, I understand she doesn't truly love me, she loves the benefits this body brings. Now that the benefits are settled, we owe each other nothing. Persisting, I returned home. Grandma's condition wasn't good, she hardly recognized anyone anymore. But when she saw me, she still smiled warmly and called me Zhao Zhao. I leaned next to her, hiding behind her frail body like I did countless times from my father's beatings as a child. She shielded me with her small frame. I grew up under her protection. Now it's my turn to protect her. After returning to my home country, I successfully landed a high-paying job. With absolute financial independence, my father no longer dared to shout at me. In fact, when he needed money, he would approach me with a servile smile. I found a quiet place for my grandmother to spend her old age, where the spring sun was at its best. Together, we would lie in the courtyard basking in the sun. She didn't remember much about the past anymore, only occasionally would she mention something from my childhood. One morning, she woke up from a dream, her eyes were bright and her mind was clear as she called me to her side. Zhao Zhao, Grandma had a dream that you died. I held her hand tightly. It was just a dream, aren't I right here with you? She smiled with relief, closed her eyes, and said slowly, Grandma is really happy. That year, I prayed in the temple for 7 days and nights. The Buddha saw my sincerity and fulfilled my wish. Now, I desire nothing more in this life than to see you thrive. I felt a vague sense of unease. It had been a long time since Grandma had spoken such coherent long sentences after falling ill. I panicked. Don't sleep yet. I still have so much to tell you. She opened her eyes, filled with contentment. Grandma is tired. The rest of the journey you must walk alone. Grandma believes you will do well. After she said this, I felt her hand suddenly loosen. Death is like a persistent drizzle. There's no need for an umbrella, but the endless dampness permeates every corner of life. I wept bitterly in such dampness. After composing myself, I took care of her final affairs. After the cremation, I set up a lamp for her in the nearby temple to guide her rebirth. The monk recognized me. Are you Zhao Zhao? I was surprised. I had never been to this temple before. Today was my first visit. The head monk uttered Amitba. Your grandmother often came to our temple, carrying your photo, sometimes kneeling in the hall all day. I have never seen such a devout believer. Your grandmother must have loved you very much. I stood there, stunned. During the years I was abroad, she would come to the temple whenever she could to pray for my well-being, hoping that Buddha would bless my future. As the golden light appeared before Buddha, a strange memory suddenly flashed through my mind. It was a memory from after I died in a past life. Upon hearing of my death, my grandmother wept daily. She knelt before Buddha for many days, begging for a chance for me to have a redo. She said, my Zhao Zhao has had a hard life, never lived a good day, and can't just leave like this without clarity. My grandmother gave me a chance to choose my fate again, and indeed, I got what I wished for, the opportunity to choose again. The day I was forced to take the blame and decided to flee was on the winter solstice. Grandma knew I was leaving, so she waited at the door. The bowl of cold dumplings in her arms was proof that she had always been protecting me. Every time she pushed me forward, she was pushing me towards a better ending. She always told me to strive for a better future. It turns out she was afraid I would repeat past mistakes, and this time, I chose the best path for myself.